The police didn't ask questions. They didn't wait. They didn't even look at the pizza bag in Jacob's hand. They came at him fast. 2 officers jumped out of the patrol car and shouted, "Hands up, now. Don't move, kid." Jacob froze on the sidewalk, his whole body shaking. The pizza bag slipped from his fingers and landed on the ground with a dull thud. His voice cracked. "Sir, please. I'm just delivering food." But the officer had already grabbed his arm. "Yeah," the cop snapped. "And I'm Santa Claus. Turn around." Jacob's heart hammered. He hadn't done anything wrong. He was 17. He worked double shifts to help his little sister eat. He never even skipped a homework assignment. Yet here he was, treated like a criminal in the middle of the street. Residents at the apartment building entrance peeked through the glass door. Some whispered, some judged. Nobody helped. "That's the guy. He looks like trouble. Probably guilty." Jacob's throat tightened. He whispered again, "I didn't do anything." But the officers didn't listen. One shoved him toward the police car. The other snatched his delivery receipt and frowned like it was evidence from a crime scene. The younger officer muttered, "Fits the description." Jacob swallowed. "Description of what?" "A robbery, 2 blocks over," the officer said. "Black hoodie, backpack, young male." Jacob looked down. He was wearing a hoodie. He did have his delivery backpack, but he was also holding a pizza bag. He tried again. "Sir, please. Door number 3, be ordered food." "I can show you. Stop lying," the officer barked. "We're done listening." Jacob's eyes burned with fear. Suddenly a woman burst through the apartment door. "That's my order," she shouted. "He's the delivery boy." Jacob exhaled sharply, relief flooding his chest. But the officers ignored her. They pushed Jacob harder into the back seat of the police cruiser. "Stay out of this, ma'am," the officer warned. Jacob pressed his forehead to the window. "Please," he whispered to the woman outside. "Please, tell them." But the door slammed in his face. Inside the car, the officers talked like he wasn't even there. "These kids never learn. He'll crack at the station. Judge will take care of him." Double quotes judge. That word punched Jacob right in the stomach. The last time he saw a courtroom was never. He had never been in trouble, never arrested, never scared like this. He thought of his little sister waiting at home. He thought of the promise he made her that morning. "I'll be home after work, okay? I won't be late." His breath shook. He felt smaller than he'd ever felt before. At the station, they took his backpack, took his shoelaces, took his phone, took every piece of dignity he had left. They locked him in a cold holding cell. The metal bench burned through his jeans. The smell of bleach made his stomach twist. He curled into himself, holding his arms tight. He whispered again and again, "I'm not a criminal. I'm not a criminal." Hours passed. No one came. Finally, a guard banged on the bars. "You," he grunted, "on your feet." "Courtroom 2, already," Jacob whispered. "I didn't even move." Jacob walked through the hallway with heavy, trembling legs. When he entered courtroom 2, he expected coldness. He expected anger. He expected judgment. But instead, Judge Rowan was standing, not sitting, not writing, just staring at Jacob with eyes full of shock, full of memory, full of something. Jacob couldn't understand. The guard whispered, "Don't take it personal, kid. Judge Rowan doesn't stand for anyone." Jacob's heartbeat thundered. Why was the judge standing for him? And then Judge Rowan whispered, loud enough for only Jacob to hear, "Jacob Carter." Jacob nodded nervously. "Why, yes, sir." The judge's lips parted. His face went pale, like he had just seen someone he lost long ago. And then he said the words that made Jacob's breath stop. "You look just like your father." Jacob's heart almost stopped. My father. He hadn't heard anyone say that word in years. Not since the day his father walked out and never came back. Not since the night Jacob held his little sister while their mother cried until she couldn't anymore. Jacob swallowed hard. You knew my dad. Judge Rowan didn't answer at first. He just kept staring, breathing heavily, like he was trying to hold something together inside himself. The prosecutor cleared his throat. Your Honor, the defendant, quiet. Judge Rowan snapped, without looking away from Jacob. The courtroom went silent. Jacob felt the guard's hand push him forward. He took a shaking step toward the judge's bench, unsure if he was walking into danger or something else. Judge Rowan finally spoke, his voice low, controlled, but trembling. I knew your father very well, and seeing you standing there feels like looking back in time. Jacob didn't understand any of it. Before he could speak, the officer who arrested him stepped forward. Your Honor, we have strong reason to believe. Judge Rowan's voice slammed like thunder. You have nothing. The officer blinked. Sir, the judge pointed a finger at him. You arrested a minor with no evidence, no witness, no footage, no weapon, no stolen items. He had a pizza bag, not stolen goods, but he matched the description. Half the boys in this city wear hoodies. Judge Rowan cut in. His anger shook the air. The courtroom whispered again. Jacob watched the judge carefully. Why was he defending him so much? Judge Rowan leaned forward, eyes locked on Jacob. Did they read you your rights? Jacob shook his head. No, sir. Did they question you with an adult present? No, sir. Did they ignore a witness trying to defend you? Jacob hesitated, then nodded. Yes, sir. Judge Rowan's jaw tightened. He stood again, something judges almost never did twice. He turned to the officers. You violated procedure. You disrespected this court, and you put an innocent teenager through fear he didn't deserve. The officers looked pale. Jacob stood frozen. In his entire life, no teacher, no neighbor, no adult had ever defended him like this. Judge Rowan turned back to him, his voice suddenly softer. Jacob, your father was a good man, a man I respected, a man who deserved better than the life he got. Jacob's breath shook. You really knew him. The judge nodded slowly, double quotes yes, and if he could see you right now, he would be hurting, because his voice cracked. I failed him once. I won't fail his son. Jacob felt the floor tilt beneath him. Your Honor, I don't understand. How did you fail him? Judge Rowan stepped down from the bench. He walked right up to Jacob, close enough for Jacob to see pain behind his eyes. He whispered, because I'm the judge who couldn't save him. Jacob felt the air disappear from his chest. The judge's words echoed in his head. I'm the judge who couldn't save him, his father, the man Jacob barely remembered, the man who vanished without explanation. Jacob swallowed hard. What happened to him? Judge Rowan didn't answer right away. He looked down, breathing slowly, like the truth he carried had been sitting on his heart for years. The courtroom was silent. Even the officers stayed still, guilt creeping up their faces. Finally, the judge spoke. Your father, Daniel Carter. He came into my courtroom 12 years ago. He paused. He wasn't a criminal. He wasn't dangerous. He was a man trying to protect his family. Jacob froze. My dad, protecting us. How? Judge Rowan sighed deeply. He worked 2 jobs, slept 3 hours a night. He was drowning in bills after your mother got sick. His eyes softened. He didn't want you to see how scared he was. Jacob's throat tightened. He remembered those nights, his father pacing the small apartment, whispering to his mother, trying not to cry where Jacob could hear. Judge Rowan continued. One night, your father was driving home. He saw a car crash on the road. He helped the child inside get out. But when police arrived, the judge clenched his jaw. They thought he caused it. Jacob's eyes widened, but he didn't. No, he did not. Judge Rowan said firmly, but no one listened. Wrong place, wrong time, wrong color. Same old story. Jacob felt tears sting his eyes. Judge Rowan continued, voice shaking. He came into my court begging, not for freedom, but for time. He said he needed to get back to his children. To you. His voice cracked softly. I believed him. I wanted to help, but the evidence was twisted. The officers lied, and the system failed him. Jacob's breath hitched. What happened to him after that? The judge closed his eyes a moment. When he realized he would lose custody, he broke. He walked out of the courtroom and disappeared. No one ever saw him again. Jacob staggered back. His whole world blurred. My father left because he thought he'd lose us. Judge Rowan nodded slowly. He didn't abandon you, Jacob. He was trying to protect you from a system that was destroying him. A tear slipped down Jacob's cheek. Judge Rowan added, voice heavy with regret, and I've carried that guilt for 12 years. Because I should have fought harder. I should have saved him. Jacob wiped his face, trying to breathe. Your Honor, my father wasn't a criminal. Judge Rowan shook his head firmly. No, he was a good man. And you, he stepped closer. You are his reflection. Jacob's knees felt weak before he could speak. The doors burst open. The officer who had left earlier rushed in, holding papers. Your Honor, we found security footage. Judge Rowan straightened, and it proves. Jacob wasn't anywhere near the robbery. The courtroom gasped. Jacob's heart raced. Judge Rowan looked him in the eyes. Looks like I'm finally getting the chance to save a Carter. The courtroom lights hummed as the officer hurried forward, clutching the printed footage like it was burning his fingers. Judge Rowan's voice cut through the silence. Show me. The officer hesitated. Your Honor, it's show me. The officer swallowed hard and handed over the papers. Judge Rowan scanned them, his jaw tightening with every second. The entire courtroom leaned forward in breathless suspense. Jacob's heart pounded. His palms were sweating. His legs felt like they might give out. Finally, the judge looked up, eyes blazing with controlled fire. This footage shows the real suspect, he said loudly. Is it me? Jacob whispered. Judge Rowan turned the paper around. It wasn't, Jacob, not even close. The real robber was taller, bigger, wearing a completely different style of hoodie, and older, not a teenager at all. Judge Rowan looked at Jacob with steady eyes. You were delivering a pizza at the exact same time the robbery happened. Gasps spread through the courtroom. Jacob felt air rush back into his lungs, but only for a moment. Judge Rowan slowly rose to his feet. Officer, he said sharply. You told this court Jacob matched the description. The officer stuttered. Well, he did know. He did not. The judge slammed the bench with his palm. This teenager was arrested because you made assumptions, because you didn't check evidence, because you didn't listen. Silence. The courtroom shook with tension. Jacob lowered his head not because he was guilty, but because this was the first time in his life someone powerful was fighting for him. Judge Rowan continued, voice trembling with anger. And worst of all, Jacob is the son of a man I once failed. I will not repeat history. The officer tried again. Your Honor, we acted fast because, fast. The judge barked. You acted carelessly and cruelly. He pointed at Jacob. You put an innocent boy in handcuffs. You shoved him. You silenced him. You frightened him. Jacob's throat tightened. Judge Rowan looked straight at him. You deserved better. Jacob wiped a tear quickly, embarrassed. The judge turned back to the officers. Because of your actions, this court now opens an investigation into racial profiling and procedural misconduct. The officers' faces turned pale. One whispered, We didn't mean, but you did. Judge Rowan cut in. And you will answer for it. The courtroom murmured loudly. Judge Rowan lifted the papers again. As for Jacob Carter, he paused. Jacob felt the entire world freeze. The judge's voice softened. You are free to go. Jacob gasped. I'm free. Judge Rowan nodded. You walk out of this courtroom today with your name cleared completely. But then the judge leaned forward, his eyes intense. And Jacob, when this is over, there is something important I need to tell you. Something about your father. Jacob's heart stopped. What about my dad? He whispered. Judge Rowan took a slow breath. He didn't just leave, he said. He left you something. Jacob stared at Judge Rowan, his heartbeat thundering in his ears. He left me something, Jacob whispered. Judge Rowan nodded slowly, his eyes heavy with a truth he'd carried too long. Bailiff, he said softly, bring me the envelope. The bailiff walked to a locked drawer beneath the judge's bench, a drawer almost no one knew existed, and pulled out a thin, worn, brown envelope. It looked old, faded, like it had been touched many times, but never opened. When the bailiff placed it in the judge's hand, Judge Rowan exhaled shakly. He turned to Jacob. This has your name on it, he said. It's been in my care for 12 years. Jacob's breath caught. 12 years. Judge Rowan nodded. Double quotes. The day your father came into my courtroom, before the verdict, before the shouting, before everything went wrong. He gave this to me. Jacob stared at the envelope like it was alive. Judge Rowan continued, voice thick. He told me, if anything happens to me, give this to my boy when he becomes a man. The judge swallowed hard. I should have found you sooner. I should have given it to you long ago, but I didn't know where you were. Jacob's eyes filled. My dad thought about me. Constantly, Judge Rowan whispered. You were the only thing he talked about that day. Jacob's knees weakened. He reached out slowly as Judge Rowan held the envelope toward him. The judge's hand trembled. Jacob, your father believed in you more than you can ever understand. Jacob took the envelope with shaking fingers. His name was written across it. Not printed, not typed, handwritten, in familiar, messy handwriting. Dad, Jacob whispered, voice breaking. Everyone in the courtroom watched silently. Jacob opened the envelope carefully. Inside was a folded letter and a small silver key. His hands shook as he opened the letter. He read aloud in a trembling voice, My son Jacob, if you're reading this, I couldn't come home. But not because I didn't want you. I left so you could grow without fear, so you wouldn't see your father break. Jacob wiped his eyes, but kept reading. I love you. I am proud of you. And one day, you will do things I never could. Jacob pressed a hand to his mouth as tears fell. Judge Rowan closed his eyes. Struggling to breathe evenly, Jacob continued. This key belongs to our old locker at Miller's storage. Everything I saved for you is inside. He looked up, stunned. Judge Rowan whispered. He wanted you to have a future, even if he couldn't be in it. Jacob clutched the letter to his chest. Hey, he didn't abandon me, he whispered. He was protecting me. Judge Rowan nodded with tears in his eyes. Before Jacob could say another word, the courtroom doors burst open again. A breathless officer shouted, Your Honor, we found something else in the footage. Something about Jacob's arrest. The entire courtroom turned. Jacob froze. Judge Rowan's face hardened. What is it? The officer looked at Jacob. We didn't arrest him by accident. Everyone gasped. It was deliberate. The officer's words cut through the courtroom like a blade. His arrest was deliberate. Jacob felt his stomach twist. Judge Rowan's expression darkened, a storm rising behind his eyes. Explain, he ordered. The officer swallowed hard. Your Honor, security footage shows the two arresting officers parked near Jacob for 5 minutes before they even got the robbery call. Whispers filled the room. They were watching him. They planned it. Oh my God. Jacob's hand shook. Why would anyone target me? I don't bother anyone? The officer continued, voice tense. One of the officers had a personal complaint against the delivery company Jacob works for. They were angry about being reported for rude behavior. They wanted to teach one of the delivery kids a lesson. Gasps rippled across the courtroom. Judge Rowan slammed the bench. His voice thundered. They arrested an innocent teenager. For revenge. The officer nodded miserably. Yes, Your Honor. Jacob felt his breath leave his body. All this time, all that fear, all the humiliation, because someone wanted to teach a lesson. Judge Rowan stood up, taller than he ever seemed before. You will both be suspended, effective immediately. He barked at the two guilty officers. And you will face a full investigation for misconduct and false arrest. The officers looked down, defeated. Jacob watched them with trembling hands, not out of hate, but disbelief. How could someone ruin a life so easily? Judge Rowan turned to Jacob, his voice gentle again, the storm clearing for the boy in front of him. Jacob, you didn't deserve any of this. And today, justice is finally on your side. Jacob blinked back tears. Thank you, sir. But Judge Rowan shook his head. No, thank your father. He pointed to the letter Jacob still held. He believed you would grow into someone brave, someone strong, someone who stands tall, even when the world tries to push him down. Jacob clutched the letter to his heart. The judge continued, and now, it's time you open that storage locker. Jacob nodded slowly, courage rising inside him. The judge placed a gentle hand on Jacob's shoulder. Whatever is inside, it's his love, and your beginning. Jacob felt his knees weaken with emotion. Before leaving, he turned back to Judge Rowan. Your Honor, do you think my dad would be proud of me? Judge Rowan's eyes softened with warmth. He already was. Jacob stepped out of the courtroom into the sunlight, a free boy, a stronger boy. A boy carrying his father's last gift. He looked up at the sky. I'll make you proud, Dad, he whispered. And for the first time in years, he felt like he wasn't walking alone.